welcome into BOON1ESPN, where, yes, I could be over here if I wanted to today, but I don't want to. We welcome you all into the first episode of BOON1ESPN, a little bit of a highlight show for you all this week. Not too much exciting, but in the future we hope to do something that is coming later in this episode. However, we are going to start off with our Week 1 matches. Go for Watch League Season 5.5 kicking off with some high-octane action as the MS guys are able to 3-1 the Trout. Of course, there are no VODs I could use for highlights for these first two matches, but the last three will have some highlights. The MS guys looking strong, of course, building up that core of the Galactic Water Bears as well as the Hawks of last season. Fantasy HV Sekakua looking strong as usual, and all the other components falling into place as they should. Should be a very scary team moving forward, and we'll potentially see them go up in the power rankings. And our other match that didn't have any highlights would be the Imps versus the Anglers. The Imps taking a 3-0 victory over number 1 ranked Anglers in the power rankings. A very stout performance coming out from them, especially from their main tank Trey, as well as their standout DPS player Invictus, looking very strong on that Reaper. Ryan for Trey, and basically the whole team functioning very well together. This should be a very scary team moving forward as well. Anglers a little disappointed with the performance. Who knows what they'll do next week? I suck. And we're going to go right ahead into the highlights, of course, starting off with the Pushins versus the Whales. The Whales and the Pushins, the battle of the teams that nobody really knew where to place beginning in our initial power rankings. First, we start by Lijiang Tower. We did see the Pushins actually falling to the Whales pretty handily in a 2-0 sweep, as Corey and Grigmamil had a very strong showing on their tank and roll and their DPS roll respectively. However, this would probably be the best showing the Whales had had the entire series. As you see here on Control Center, a strong showing from Corey on his Sanctuary Zarya on that tank roll. Nortlogic showing up there in the kill feed with a huge amount of blows. And yeah, basically it came down to Grigmamil and Corey coming up big on their respective roles, able to take home the 2-0 victory here on Lijiang Tower over the Pushins. Again, sadly, this would be the highlight of their showing because the questions of this team still arise. Will Corey be able to really do too much on the main tank role, having your highest SR player be on an off role that it not really necessarily can carry all too hard? Yeah, there's some spectacular tracking there from Corey on the Zarya, if I do say so myself. But we are going to move on to King's Row for our second map, where we see the Pushins come in to dominate here, where Purple Jesus asserting a pretty staggering main tank difference on Corey, on the Reinhardt. And you can see that this is where the Pushins wanted to play. This raw composition really coming in handy for them as they get almost a 4-minute time bank here on their attack of King's Row. And yeah, Mikey kind of came alive on this map, but Purple Jesus was the real star here for the Pushins, hitting some big shatters on the defense as well as the attack. And really, the Whalers had no answer for this. We had a couple of nice plays, especially this one from Grigmamil and Nortlogic going for the charge bomb flank high noon play. Or not flank high noon, but flank flash fan, sorry. Got the shutdown onto the visor of Nathan. But they weren't able to really take these fights into a lot of wins and get a big staggering time bank like we saw for the Pushins, as Purple Jesus again throws down a massive shatter. But Grigmamil and Centurion in the back line were able to clean this fight up and claim point B for the Whales. But they were not able to finish, as point C on King's Row, where most time banks go to die. And the Whales found that out the hard way, as Purple Jesus and Ribro were able to hold down that point very strongly, as we have a couple stagger kills coming in here. But the Pushins dominate here on King's Row, the 4-minute time bank, and we get a little bit of stretching here from Nuttier over Mania Moon's corpse. But as we move on to our third map, which was going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar, where we would see a couple of role swaps here for the Whales as Corey moves over to the DPS to the tank. But these role swaps would not quite be enough, as Mikey was able to play that Genji character that he's a kind of silver, maybe gold at, not really know what he's known for, but an absolutely great performance from Purple Jesus on the Ashe was kind of the standout here on that off roll. And Centurion throwing a bomb here does get a 3K. And that's where this defense is going to hold here for the Whales. So a decent defense actually for Watchpoint Gibraltar, not allowing the completion to come through. But as you know, Watchpoint Gibraltar, if you play it all that much, point A is kind of where most defenses kind of make their big hold and where time banks going to die. And that's where we're going to see the Whales sadly fall here as Centurion gets another bomb in the back line. But this really was a DPS diff here on point A. Mikey had some pretty nice nano blades, but Purple Jesus was able to control the high ground with this Ashe, with the bombs. And Nathan and Ripper was very aggressive on the positioning on the defense, able to hold the high ground as well, allowing the defense to pop off. Corey did get this blade on the Echo duplicate, found 2 kills, but they still wasn't enough to push through on point A defense, as they were able to get these people out alive and push back in here at the end. And a Nano Blade from Mikey to clean it all up and send us over to our fourth map, as the Pushins were able to make a point A full hold on Watch Point Gibraltar. And on the fourth map, really things didn't change all too much. Corey back over on the DPS could not stop this big roll through the attack here again from the Pushins. Very aggressive on the dives. This team seems to be very well coordinated. Our main fears for them was Purple Jesus and Mikey able to live up to their SR? And of course we saw here they most definitely were, putting on some pretty stellar performances on their main roles and off roles respectively for Purple Jesus. And yeah, the defense was pretty good here from the Pushins, not allowing even 2 ticks for the attackers of the Whales, as Mikey, on that signature echo from Season 3 for the Saigon Swan, or Season 2 of Saigon Swans, was able to stop the attackers of the Pushin, or stop the attackers of the Whales in their tracks. And the match ends in a 3-0 win here for the Pushins. A great start for their season, team that we kind of had questions about, but the Whales got even more to answer. And in our first of 2 5-map bangers this week, we had the OTs versus the Chicago Cats. The OTs putting a pretty strong performance here on Lijiang Tower, despite this hero play from Kethet coming in to get 3 kills. The OTs were able to kind of run this rusty composition, as well as the brawl with Flambeau Jambo on Control Center, and send the Cats kind of packing here. Lumpy Steel had a great performance on the DPS. The Cassidy and the Reaper coming up pretty huge here, and Roar, with this bit of a meme tire, was able to shut down Kethet in the backline and claim the final victory here for the OTs on Control Center, 2-0. With a 100-0 on Control Center, pretty dominant win on Gardens as well, so the OTs looking strong in Control would come back to bite the Cats a little later this series, but we go over to Nambani, where number 3 overall pick, etc., was able to put on a great performance on Widowmaker and Ash, and basically open the attack all by himself on point A here, with 3 kills, claiming the Cats a very strong time bank heading into the final parts of the map, where they capitalized on almost 2-minute completion, with etc. and Kethet holding down the point. A nice shot from etc. The flick onto the Roar Tracer. Cath gonna shut down his ball with a shatter on the point. And with just over 2 minutes on the bank, the Cats are able to cap, and that's a really strong time bank for Nambani especially. And the OTs would not be able to match it on the attack, despite the heroics of Real Dog here, starting with a great 3-man dragon in the low area here by the Mega. Was able to open up point A, and another dragon slash headshot opened up point B for the OTs. But they did get about a 1-minute time bank after Lumpy Seal hit a pretty darn nice whole hog, getting 2 people and knocking some off the map. And a bit of a indie company moment here, as Transfest gonna charge to the point and quote-unquote not touch, as we do get the 1 minute in the bank to 2:16. However, the OT's not able to get a single tick on their attack, and despite the stellar defense of the OTs was able to hold for about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the Cats were able to capture that 1 tick they needed and send us to a 1-1 series point, or series tied, heading into our 3rd map, which was going to be Dorado. And this was the story of the Strudel Brigida here on the defense for the OTs. Strudel had an absolutely spectacular performance here on point B, especially on that Brigida character. Was able to shut down Kethet on the ball, as well as the DPS of the Chicago Cats playing that Genji, trying to hope to get something going on the dive, but Strudel did not let them do that. Strudel was able to shut down that dive almost single-handedly, as well as keeping Wiggle Higgle alive and pumping out the heals for Flambeau Jumbo and Rusty in the tank line. Not a lot of deaths for them. However, this stellar defense performance would not come back on the offense, as etc. and Ox are able to come alive on the high ground to point B, playing that double hit scan composition that Rusty Goomba claims is broken, and they claimed, or they showed that that was true, as Ox and etc. were able to combine for many fight wins almost single-handedly with some spectacular ults as well positioning for the Cats. They're able to take home a 2nd map and send us to a map 4, which would be the OT's choice, and they pick Temple of Anubis, where we saw both teams have a pretty good attack, but we do have a pretty egregious C9 here from the Cats. It looked like they were going to stabilize on the defense, but they step up for just a second to get the kill onto the Baby Diva, and we're going to get that C9, which gives us to our extra rounds. We do have a 3rd point capture coming in here for the Cats, as Ox comes alive on point A in the overtime, getting 5 final blows, and it opens his point up. I mean, he's playing the Reaper guy, so he got super close to him and shot him in the head quite a bit. So great play from Ox to make up for that C9 on the Tracer. They would, however, only claim about 33% on their point B attack. As we come in here, the OTs, just in overtime, are able to claim it with a nice high noon from Caver 27. as well as Real Dog able to stay alive in the corner, pumping in the heels into Roar. Roar able to build that tactical visor and clean up the final kills they need to bring us to a map 5 deciding map between the two number 9 or number 10 teams in the power rankings. Both teams having strong performances so far. And map 5, we're going to go to Ilios. And the OT's strength on control would continue as Cathect, not able to do too much on the ball, getting shut down by the Roar Tracer, as well as the broad composition of the OT simply being too strong for the DPS of the Cats to break, as Ox is slightly above the skybox there, not able to touch the point. And we go to Ruins, where you'd expect to see the Etc. Widowmaker put on some carry performances, but the Roar DPS was able to just put some pressure on him and not allow him to do too much. Ox does get the shutdown on the High Dooning Camera 20 or Lumpy Seal, but it just was not enough as Rusty Goomba is able to shut down the Pharah as well as clean up the final kills, need to bring us home to a map 5 victory for the Arizona OTs, claiming their first win of the season. And it was very easily our match of the week. We had the Fiji Frogs going up against the Dorado Ducks. Starting off on Lijiang Tower, we had the Lucio off between Flip Flop and Frog, and you can take a pretty crazy guess as to who would win that most of the time. But the aggression coming in from the Fiji Frogs on their defense as well as their attack came in handily and allowed them to win this map pretty convincingly over the Dorado Ducks. We had the Frog, of course, on Lijiang Tower, which is kind of a cheat code, honestly, if you ask me. A lot of boops, especially on Gardens here. Got the one onto the Frobble Wrecking Ball, and then the cleanup kills coming in here for the Fiji Frogs as they would take a 2-0 victory here on Lijiang Tower over the Ducks, our number 2 seed in the power rankings. Kind of staggering a little bit there, but they make it for it on their next map choice, which would be Hollywood, where we see the Pneumonia Genji coming up huge with a bunch of Nanoblade combinations with Flip Flop, as well as the Hog from Frobble coming up pretty huge on their defense as well as the attack. So an all-around solid map from the Dorado Ducks. LL247 being a standout on this Hanzo character, getting a lot of early picks as well as timely dragons. We had a nice dive here from the Frogs on their attack, but would not be enough as Pneumonia comes down from the top ropes with a 5k with the Nano Visor, able to get all the kills he possibly needed there for the defense. But however, Frutals would come in with a nice 4-man EMP in the cafe, allowing the dive of the Frogs to capitalize, with Whalefish getting a 2-man Death Blossom inside the cafe. The dive looked very well coordinated from the Frogs as well, so good signs from them going forward in the season. But we would have Faroodles shutting down Frubble, doing a bit of inting, doing a bit of trolling on that whole hog inside point B there. They're going to get that cap, and we're going to go to extra rounds as Whalefish would open things up with a nice 2-man Death Blossom. And would have Pneumonia doing his best easy bot impression, just walking in straight lines and shooting walls as the Frogs would push it in. You can see him over there just padding his stats, protecting himself, not letting himself get any deaths on the stats. You know, you gotta shout out to him. But on the attack here for the Fiji Frogs in their overtime, Frubble will get the timely opening hook onto Wags, and that would be just the end of it. Without that Mang Tank presence, the Dorado Ducks were able to clean things right up, and on their attack, things would go pretty smoothly here for the Ducks as they cap print A fairly quickly and open things up in point B with a Nano Blade to clean things up and claim our second map, thanks to a tied series 1-1. Pneumonia showing off that Rookie of the Year performance was not, an illusion, and the Genji is still very strong. On our third map of this map. Edit in later. I'm not going to edit in later. We had a great showing from both teams as Wags would continue to play this Winston at a very high level against some high primal rages, but Pneumonia would come alive on the attack to finally stabilize and capture point C. The DPS of LOL247 and Pneumonia crack his point open as Frobble just stays alive on the point and takes up as much damage as possible. They're going to push it in with 0 seconds in the time bank, but they are going to get a second round here. On the attack for the Fiji Frogs, Whalefish would have a great showing on point A, hitting some nasty shots on that Hanzo he's known for, especially on this Mercy, this little flick here. On the Mercy, gets the Dragons as well, and that's going to open up point A. Point B, claimed very quickly, and for Roodles, Whalefish, and Wags, again, this trio would come up huge on point C, getting all the kicks they needed to push themselves through and get a staggering time bank of 4 minutes and 27 seconds. However, we would have an epic Mamb moment as Pneumonia is going to deflect Whalefish's Dragons right back at him. Had to include that in there. But this, if you want to see C9 in the dictionary, you are going to see it right here, as we have the Dorado Ducks getting the picks they need to possibly win this fight. 2 kills in their favor, but they just don't touch the cart, as Wags is there with their primary rage knocking them off, and they would, of course, let them know in team chat. But the 4 minutes and 30 seconds was not enough to capture point A, as the Dorado Ducks were able to put on a great defense and shut down this dive of the Fiji Frogs. And we're able to take our third map here, as we do have Wags tactically eating all the mines to quickly reset and get ready for map 4. You'd love to see it. The Ducks are able to claim that second map, and as we see here, defense is not in any of these teams' dictionaries, as 2 huge time banks would come up to here, as the Dorado Ducks would attack first and get just about 5 minutes in the bank, as they would claim this point, 5 minutes and 7 seconds, but not to be outdone, the Fiji Frogs would come back and do one even better, as Wags goes in with an expertly timed dive with the anti-nade from Frog. This duo is deadly. Wags and Frogs, they want to play together. You can definitely see why here, and here again, another pincer move here on Pneumonia, and here comes Frog from the back line with an anti-nade, and there he is. And they are going to claim with even more time in the bank, and we're going to extra innings. With that being said, the Dorado Ducks are able to claim point A and 1 tick on point B. However, there's just too much time here, and a bit of a C9 action from the Dorado Ducks did not help them, as the Fiji Frogs will send us to an all-deciding map 5, which would be Nepal, and the Dorado Ducks brawl composition comes up huge here. Poke with a nice shatter will find 3 kills, but you will have to see it later on in this point specifically. This point is timed up a little bit, but look at this insane clutch from Frog. You can see the kills coming through here in favor of the Dorado Ducks quite handily, getting 3 kills in their favor, but Frog just staying alive on the point with Faroodles, just jumping around and being a nuisance, staying alive, getting a possible pick here and there. It allowed the Fiji Frogs to come back and win this point of Nepal. After they flip it over here, they will go from 41 to 100 and win. It's off this play from Frog, so a great showing from that Lucio player, the Lucio god of this league. I'm trying to think of who he said he's better than. I think he's better than Massa, and I'd have to agree because Massa's winless in Vancouver right now. But the brawl would be too strong on Village for the Dorado Ducks. The May and the Frobble Hog getting a lot of kills here. Simply no answers really from the Fiji Frogs on this point, as we go over to our final point of Sanctum on Nepal, and this is where I think Frog would come up huge with some boops, and that he did. However, it just would not be enough, as the Dorado Ducks would come through with the timely picks and good ultimates there, especially from Poke, to get that nice flux on the Hog to shut him down. And eventually it would lead to a victory here for the Dorado Ducks. The hook misses from Frobble, but probably for the better because they can't touch the points. And they are going to claim that map 5 victory here. The Dorado Ducks looking strong, but Fiji Frogs looking strong as well. And those were our highlights, of course. We hope that in the future, people could possibly save their own clips to save myself some time, so I got to go through every single match and, save highlights. So please, God, clip if you can. It just makes my job so much easier. We do want to, before we move over into our power rankings, thank our new sponsors this week, Axolotls, brought to you by GGU. They will be sponsoring the power rankings as well as the mainstream pulling forward. So thank you so much for our new sponsors, Axolotls. They're mediocre. Now, as we go over into our power rankings, we are going to start off with the bottom team, which, for the meme, might I say, is going to be the Chicago Cats. The Chicago Cats, for us to rank them accurately, would probably be around that 6, maybe the 7 mark, around there. Very strong team with, of course, Ox, etc., and Cathect. Very strong players. Probably stay on the bench most time, but when they do get to play, they're very good. However, this team is number 10, only because of the curses of both Paige never winning a game as a captain and Papa Triste never winning a game, as she's never been a captain. So I can't put them any higher than 10 because just superstition lets me know that they're not going to win another game until proven otherwise. Number 9, we have the Welsh Whales. This team was a concern for me moving in after the draft because I didn't really know what they'd have for a tank line experience, and as we saw, it was a bit rough in their first game. We had Corey on the main tank, which, Corey's more known for the off-tank presence, being a very solid Zarya, as well as a Sigma player, but that main tank experience, he got a hold of it, getting diffed by May, as well as Pearl Jesus just walking him down. So maybe the Welsh Whales can bring it back next week. We had a bit of a quiet performance from Greg Mamel as well. Greg Mamel kind of has to be that carry along with Nort Logic because Corey's on, main tank in Overwatch 1 nowadays, so he can't really do too much. At number 8, we have the Awesome Anglers coming down from the number 1 spot. These power rankings are based on the admin ones, the ups and downs, whatever. But the Anglers came out and had a very weak performance considering their talent. Bonesy, very quiet performance on the DPS. More known, it's a super hard carry, but the team could not really follow him up, as well as this guy, Boone, got hard MTD'd and absolutely shut down and put in the Shadow Realm by Trey. Number 7, we have the OTs coming off a win over the Chicago Cats. The OTs moving up 2 spots in the rankings here. Still not super convinced about the win to map 5 with the Cats. It's just, can Flambeau's internet and frames hold up to play the main tank position for the entire season? Who really knows? Other than that, Caliber 27 had a great showing on the DPS. Kind of an off-roll for him, but the Cassie looked very strong, as well as the Doomfist. So look forward to doing the future Rusty. Of course, always a solid player on the off-tank role on that D.Va. Just being annoying and making everybody hate him because he's the only one who plays D.Va in this league. But that's not true because D.Va's the highest played time. So stop making fun of Riley. Thanks. Number 6, we have the Troubling Trout. I believe down a couple spots. I don't have the actual power rankings ahead of me, but the Trout came out against the Skies and got 3-1 by the Skies, who are, I think, a very solid team with Fancy. I think if Fancy wasn't there, Fancy with that questionable availability wraps the Trout, makes the game a little closer, but you're kind of relying on that lift key carry. Lift key, very good on the DPS, actually, surprising a lot of people with his performance, but on the tank, a bit quiet considering the SR cost, but I think that if lift key can get more on that DPS role and maybe put Yeetmeister on the tank, I think the Trout will see themselves going up power rankings very quickly. Actually, number 5, going to have the Pushins pushing up a couple spots here in the power rankings. The Pushins had a very strong showing against the Welsh Whales. The Whales not maybe the strongest team in the league, but I think the Pushins kind of put all the doubts that we had of them at the beginning of the season to rest. We were wondering, is Mikey washed? Is PJ washed? They came out and showed that they were not. Mikey's still very solid on that Echo Cassidy, putting some carry performances on perhaps a Genji, the Tracer, the things he's more known for. Then you have Purple Jesus showing that flexibility of a high-octane main tank player on the Reinhardt, especially on King's Row, putting Corey to bed and just absolutely destroying his mental in that Ryan v. Ryan battle, and as well as flexing over the ball and Winston as well. So a great showing from PJ and Mikey, the two standout players for the Pushins, but everybody else as well carrying their weight. So I think a great showing for the Pushins. Number 4, we have the Imps. The Imps had a great showing this week, taking down the number 1 ranked awesome anglers. Somebody wondering why they're actually going down, I believe, in the power rankings here. Well, it's just because all teams ahead of them made such great strides and showed that they were, a fantastic all-around team. You got Fedora Master on that signature Torbjorn, Invictus on the Ashley Cassidy and the Reaper guy. Always very good, always putting out the damage, as well as Trey on this new role of tank. We saw him play a little bit of it last year, but the showing that we had in week 1 was very good for Trey. I can speak from my own perspective, which is mostly me laying on my back after getting shattered. Number 3, we have the Fiji Frogs. The Fiji Frogs we're always that question mark team that Evans have making their power rankings. Do we trust the all-around god talent along with the chaos, or do we trust the more structured teams? But I think that the Frogs kind of shows that they can play a more structured style, as well as relying on the carries of the Frog and Wags. We had that insane Frog clutch on Nepal. Wags was very solid on that tank. On the Reinhardt, especially the Winston, very aggressive, you could say, but I think it definitely worked out with their playstyle. You had Ferrudal stepping up on the DPS as well. So I think a great team moving forward. The Frogs are definitely want to look out for, showing a lot of flexibility in the match against the Ducks as well. Number 2, we have the Emma Skies. The Emma Skies are just oozing talent if it actually all plays. So I should put an asterisk here. This is if Fancy plays. Number 2. Because you have Akua, you have Jack, you have HVSec, and you have Fancy, as well as a fantastic support line, who I can't name off the top of my head. Sorry. If Fancy's not there, then the questions start rolling up, and then maybe become more of a mid-tier team. But as of right now, asterisk there, Fancy plays, the number 2 in my mind. And number 1, the Draw Ducks, moving up from that 2 spot to that 1 spot after a 5-map series win over the Fiji Frogs. They're able to stop that talent in its tracks, with the Fravel Hog, of course, showing up from last season. The Axolotls kind of carry presence there. The Roadhog returns and does the same with the Raw Ducks, but the Ducks have the Rookie of the Year in Pneumonia on that Genji, as well as Flip-Flop on her signature support role of Flex Support. So, I don't know what to say. This team is just oozing talent everywhere you look. So, I don't know what else to say other than they're good. There's my synopsis. They're good. You can put that on a shirt if you want. They're good. Yeah, that's going to do it for us here at BOON1ESPN this week. Usually we'd have some other stuff here, but that's going to be up for you guys to decide, the fans at home. So down below, you're going to see a form that you can fill out for ideas for the show. We're planning on doing stuff like interviews, as well as, some fan-asked questions, so you can leave those down below as well in the form. So again, this show is going to be basically all up to you guys on what to actually do, because if not, it's just going to be this. It's going to be me giving down here, giving my awful power rankings. You saw an intro source. I made it up. So for us here at BOON1ESPN, I'm your host, Booney, and we'll see you guys next week. Best luck in your matches.